Adam Copeland undergoes a name change on AEW Dynamite. Speaking of Copeland, rated FTR will be in action this weekend on AEW Collision. Jeff Jarrett reveals he has signed a brand new talent contract with All Elite Wrestling. However, it'll be the final talent contract he signs in his professional wrestling career. He'll also be in action this weekend on Collision. Speaking of which, the Elton John theme is returning to the show this coming Saturday. Switchblade Jay White wins a triple threat match and he'll be the first entrant in the Casino Gauntlet match next week. Julia Hart defeats JB Hayter in her in-ring return on Dynamite. Kenny Omega is set to return to AEW's flagship broadcast next week. Ricochet attacks Swerve Strickland. Anthony Bowens walks out on his partner on Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. Speaking of which, a brand new theme for AEW Dynamite debuted last night on TBS and the Max streaming service. MJF reveals his world title aspirations after defeating Adam Cole at the World's End pay-per-view. Christian Cage vs. Hook is announced for an upcoming episode of Dynamite. Baron Corbin is now officially a free agent after his WWE contract has expired. And WWE superstar Amos wins a title in Pro Wrestling Noah. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's get into it and let's begin with Adam Copeland undergoing a name change. Adam Copeland has undergone a name change in AEW following his return from injury at AEW World's End last weekend. The WWE Hall of Famer made his return to AEW for the first time since he broke his leg at Double or Nothing in the closing moments of World's End, where he and FTR formed their new Rated FTR stable. The trio fought off Jon Moxley and the Death Riders, with a trios main event being made for the January 1st episode of AEW Dynamite, pitting Rated FTR against Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. However, it was not Adam Copeland that took part in the bout, as he was now seemingly undergoing a name change in the company. Copeland was simply introduced as the Rated R superstar Cope by Justin Roberts during his entrance, with the nameplate also simply referring to him as Cope. Of course, last night's show was the first Dynamite to be simulcast on both TBS and live on the Max streaming service. In the closing moments of the match, Rated FTR got the victory, where Cope hit a spear on Yuta after FTR caught him with the Shatter Machine. Just before the finish, there was a lot of interference where Switchblade Jay White interfered, laying out Yuta with the Blade Runner. As that was happening, Cope backdropped Moxley onto the announce table and then speared Moxley through the barricade. Now, when it comes to Rated FTR, they will continue to be in action this coming weekend on AEW Collision. Rated FTR, that being Cope, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, will take on the Learning Tree, consisting of Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith on the January 4th episode of AEW Collision. The bout was made official on the January 1st episode of AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. Now, Jeff Jarrett, it was revealed that there was going to be a big announcement made regarding his future, and indeed it was last night on Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. The last Outlaw, Jeff Jarrett, promised his fans that he had a huge announcement regarding his future on the Fight for the Fallen edition of AEW Dynamite, and that announcement was that he had not only re-signed with AEW, but that the contract he signed was the last talent deal he would ever sign. Backstage, Jarrett talked things over with his wife Karen, as well as Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sonjay Dutt, who all asked Jarrett if this is what he really wanted to do, which he said yes. Jarrett then took to the ring with his boots around his neck and his guitar on a stand in the middle of the ring before addressing the fans in attendance. After running through his family history, Jarrett asked himself and the crowd if the last Outlaw should ride off into the sunset, and the answer was hell no. He explained he has a little bit left in the tank and he's going to give everything he has in this final run, and it will be a final run, as Jarrett confirmed that a fresh deal he signed with AEW will be his last as an in-ring talent. As for what Jarrett wants to achieve on this final ride, he wants gold, however. He doesn't want any gold. He doesn't want the AEW World Trios Championships, the AEW Tag Team Championships, or any other titles in the company. He wants the AEW World Championship. He wants the AEW World Championship so much that he even declared himself for the Casino Gauntlet match on the January 8th episode of Dynamite, and it doesn't look like there's going to be anything that will put a stop on this final ride for the last Outlaw. Speaking of Jarrett, he'll also be in action this coming Saturday on AEW Collision at Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. As I mentioned, he announced that he had re-signed with AEW. This was going to be his last talent contract. AEW then announced that Jeff Jarrett would be in action on the January 4th episode of AEW Collision. His opponent was not named in the announcement. Now, speaking of AEW Collision, an old theme song is returning to the company. Last night was a momentous occasion for AEW, as for the first time, AEW Dynamite was simulcast on TBS and the streaming service Max as part of AEW's new TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. But the fun doesn't end there, as this Saturday's episode of AEW Collision will also be getting the simulcast treatment. And when it does, it will do so with the help of its old theme song. Taken to X to kick off the new year yesterday morning, AEW president and owner Tony Khan hyped up Collision's upcoming simulcast episode while also putting over Collision's strong rating for their Christmas episode 2 weeks ago. Almost casually, he then revealed that Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting would once again be the show's theme song, as it would be throughout 2025. Now, John's 1973 hit was Collision's main tune when the show launched back in June 2023 and had remained so until this past summer when AEW replaced the theme song with one created by the composer Mikey Ruckus. At the time, Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Dave Meltzer suggested the move made before AEW's new TV deal was a sign of the promotion cutting back on expenses. It's unclear if the new deal served as the catalyst for Khan bringing the song back or if it's merely a coincidence. Now, going back to Dynamite last night, Switchblade Jay White earns the advantage next week. Jay White scored a victory and in an AEW Dynamite triple threat match against Swerve Strickland and Roderick Strong to earn the spot as the first entrant in the Casino Gauntlet match next week. White will have the advantage as it guarantees he will enter the match, which will be competed under sudden death rules. While the crowd was hot for Strickland, it was White to walk away with the W. Strickland started off the match going right after White and Strong, and the former AEW World Champion had the upper hand for the majority of the match. Strong, however, was able to hit a Tiger Driver on White and almost got the pinfall. Strickland hit a swerve stomp to Strong, but Strong dodged the house call. Strickland dodged a Blade Runner attempt and hit a flatline to White, who rolled out of the ring. Strickland then scaled the ring barricade in an attempt to kick White in the jaw, but Ricochet came in and attacked him. We'll get back to that in just a second. After White walked to the back, this allowed actually White to hit a Blade Runner and pin Strong for the victory. Now, Ricochet did actually get once again his hands on Swerve Strickland, which we'll talk about later on, but this means that indeed Jay White is going to be the first entrant into the Casino Gauntlet match next week. Now, Julia Hart, she made her return to in-ring competition last night on Dynamite. Julia Hart has been Jamie Hayter's boogeyman since late 2024, and what began as a foreboding warning shots materialized into a full-body return on the December 15 episode of AEW Collision. And at Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, Hart made her official in-ring return against Hayter and came out of a comeback match with an underhanded victory under her belt. Hayter started off the match strong with several clotheslines onto Hart, but Hart did not have to struggle for long as she sent herself and Hayter to the outside of the ring, where Hart tossed Hayter's spine into the steel steps. Hart survived through Hayter's relentless offense until she could lock in a heartless attempt, but Hayter's sheer strength allowed her to power out of it and respond with a sliding lariat. Hart got creative with her victory when she retrieved an arrow to slowly brandish towards Hayter. The referee quickly caught on and snatched the arrow out of Hart's hands to dispose of it, and the referee's moment of distraction, Hart sprayed mist into Hayter's eyes before scoring a pinfall victory. Medical staff were seen attending to Hayter after the match's conclusion, and Hayter's condition remains unclear. Now, speaking of returns, Kenny Omega, he's set to make his return to AEW Dynamite next week. Now, after over a year away, Kenny Omega made his return to AEW at the World's End pay-per-view in Orlando last weekend, where he confronted Kazuchika Okada following his victory in the 2024 Continental Classic. Omega handed the Continental Championship to Okada after the match, with the two men having a stare-down in the segment. Omega is set to return to the ring at the AEW and New Japan Wrestle Dynasty event on January 5th against Gabe Kidd, and we now know when Omega will make his return to AEW Dynamite. A video aired last night on Dynamite recapping the events of World's End, with an Omega symbol appearing at the end, as well as the words "next week," confirming Omega's return to Dynamite on next week's show. Now, we spoke about Ricochet previously. He attacked Swerve Strickland during the triple threat match last night. Ricochet interfered in the three-way bout between Swerve Strickland, Roderick Strong, and Jay White at Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, stabbing Swerve Strickland in the middle of the match. After the bout, Ricochet continued his assault, jabbing at Swerve with some more with the scissors before punching him in the forehead. Back in the ring, Ricochet sat a bloody Swerve on a chair and hit the Spirit Gun. Of course, Swerve embarrassed Ricochet at AEW World's End, getting the crowd to throw toilet paper at him after Ricochet lost to Kazuchika Okada in the semi-finals of the AEW Continental Classic. Now, things are not fine between the Acclaimed right now. Anthony Bowens has seemingly had it with Max Caster as he walked out on his Acclaimed partner at AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. Just as Bowens was building momentum against the Hurt Syndicate, that being Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, Caster tagged himself into the match. A few short moments later, Caster was tapping out to the Hurt Lock. Bowens watched from ringside before heading to the back as the Hurt Syndicate celebrated and Caster was left lying. Caster and Bowens have been having issues for months, and things nearly boiled over on AEW Rampage when Caster accidentally struck Bowens during his match against Chris Jericho. Now, you may have noticed last night there is a brand new theme song for AEW Dynamite. Last night's Dynamite Fight for the Fallen show, as I mentioned, was the first show to air live on both TBS as well as the Max streaming service. And to celebrate the new era for the company, a change was made to the show. Tony Khan, of course, announced earlier on in the day that Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting would return as the theme song for AEW Collision this Saturday, as well as Fightful reporting that a new theme song had been pitched for Dynamite. Last night's show did indeed start with a new theme song, and for the first time, Dynamite is now also using a licensed theme song as its intro. The 80s hit song I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters is the official theme song for the show, being featured in the opening video for this week's Fight for the Fallen broadcast. Now, as far as some more details on just AEW broadcasts moving forward, of course, as 2025 emerges from the shell of 2024, a new era began for All Elite Wrestling with the new media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, while it officially began with the Fight for the Fallen edition of AEW Dynamite on January 1st. The process of uploading the company's tape library onto the Max streaming service has already started. Even more news has now emerged about AEW's new deal, as it has been confirmed via the official WBD website that True TV will begin to air reruns of Dynamite. The reruns will air Fridays at 10 p.m, the old time slot for AEW Rampage, but on a different network, and start with next week's episode of Dynamite for those that miss it on January 8th. At the time of recording, of course, the only match that has been announced for the show is this Casino Gauntlet match, but True TV was in the conversation to carry AEW programming during the negotiation period between AEW and WBD, especially after news that True TV would be rebranding to TNT Sports in the fall, as WBD wanted more sports on the station. It has not rebranded to TNT Sports fully, instead acting in the same way that Adult Swim did when it took up a block of time on the Cartoon Network. True TV was also brought up a number of times regarding Ring of Honor programming, as that brand is still looking for a TV deal after a year of streaming on Honor Club, but it's currently unclear how close Tony Khan is to agreeing a deal with WBD about ROH television, as that has been treated as a separate entity to All Elite Wrestling. Now, MJF, what are his goals now that he's seemingly done with Adam Cole? Well, MJF is done with Adam Cole and better than you, baby, having defeated Cole at AEW World's End. Now MJF wants back the AEW World title, which he lost to Samoa Joe at the World's End pay-per-view of 2023 when Cole turned on MJF and revealed himself to be the devil. MJF said he doesn't care if it's Jon Moxley, the reigning AEW World Champion. If he wants to burn AEW to the ground, he just wants his AEW World title back. He stated that Moxley might be calling himself a king, but what's a king to a god? He closed by saying, in 2025, the devil gets his due, part 2. Now, a big match has been announced for an upcoming episode of AEW Dynamite, that being Hook versus Christian Cage. Hook and Christian Cage will square off for the first time ever during AEW Dynamite Maximum Carnage in 2 weeks. During Wednesday's Dynamite, Hook addressed his ongoing feud with the Patriarchy, boasting over the fact that he has kept Cage in fear over recent weeks and had just ousted Nick Wayne in singles action. And it was announced afterwards they will square off during the Maximum Carnage special on January 15. The grudge match is set to be the second match announced for the special episode, with Jon Moxley also set to defend his AEW World Championship against the winner of next week's Casino Gauntlet match. Now, Baron Corbin, he is now officially a free agent. Former Baron Corbin in WWE is celebrating his newfound freedom now that his WWE contract has officially expired following his reported departure from the company in November. Corbin, whose real name is Tom Pestock, took to X on Wednesday and said that he is officially no longer under contract since he wasn't fired from the company. He confirmed he was told by WWE that they were not extending his contract. Quote, "So if you're making a horror movie, let me know," he posted. "New year, no contract, let's see what we can create." The former United States champion had been working in the WWE NXT brand alongside Bron Breakker as the tag team known as the Wolf Dogs, then called back up to the main roster but was not used prior to his departure. Pestok worked in WWE for over 10 years in various roles, such as Constable Corbin on Raw under Stephanie McMahon and Bum-Ass Corbin, where he played a man down on his luck until he turned into Happy Corbin alongside Madcap Moss. Pestok was recently seen backstage at AEW's latest pay-per-view World's End. Fightful reported that why he was there or who he was there to see wasn't known at the time. The outlet reported that promoters on the independent scene were eager to book Pestok on shows. Tyrus, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, offered to open the other doors to Pestok when news on his departure from WWE broke. As of now, for Corbin's next moves in professional wrestling, it's not yet known. And finally, Omos is in Japan and he has won championship gold. It had been over 3 years since WWE's Omos last held gold, having won the Raw Tag Team Championships with AJ Styles back in April 2021. The key word there is had, as Omos rectified this mistake early Wednesday morning in the promotion. No one would have ever expected him to enter. As expected, Omos teamed with Jack Morris at Pro Wrestling Noah's The New Year event yesterday morning, defeating Namochi Marufuji and Takahashi Sagura to win the GHC Tag Team Championships. Omos scored the victory himself, pinning Marufuji with a two-handed chokeslam, and appears to have joined the Team 2000X stable consisting of Morris, Daga, and new GHC World Champion Tahashi Ozawa and former WWE superstar Yoshitatsu. Quote, "I said it in the press conference, I am the best living giant," Omos said in a post-match interview. "There's no one alive that's better than me that can come close to tying my boots. I hear this one being thrown around talking about super heavyweights. I'm not a super heavyweight, I'm a super megaweight. From now on, I am the super megaweight of this world. Nobody can touch me, nobody can see me." Now, the victory has to feel extra sweet for Omos, whose career had been in question prior to this bout. Since his WrestleMania 39 match with Brock Lesnar, the Giant has only made 6 appearances on WWE television or PLEs, spending most of 2023 working live events. Omos didn't even get the luxury in 2024, however, as there are no records of him wrestling a match prior to yesterday since April 5th, where he competed in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.